Welcome back everyone, I'm Plays Games, this is EVE Online, and as you can tell, both from the title of this video and the fact that I am in space in an Orca mining command ship, there has been another update to mining in EVE Online. This is something we've been waiting for a very long time. It was announced quite some time ago and now it's finally here. Now ships in space can compress, you don't need stations to compress anymore. This is absolutely game changing. It means that your mining fleet can stay in a mining belt and compress it all and stick it in its cargo without anyone ever having to take it to a station. And the way this is done is with these new modules called Shipboard Compressors. There is a skill for these called Shipboard Compression technology. If we have a look at the market details, it has been seeded on the market at long last. The developers actually forgot to seed this for the first few days after the patch, so no one can actually use the compressors. Well, they also forgot to seed the blueprints for the compressors, so even if you had the skill you couldn't get the modules anyway, but that is all fixed now. So as we see, Shipboard Compression technology has been seeded on the market by NPCs at 150 million ISK. This is not a cheap skill. And level 1 of this skill unlocks ore compressors, level 2 unlocks ice compressors, level 3 unlocks gas compressors, level 4 unlocks mercazit compressors, and level 5 unlocks moon ore compressors. So if you want to compress all the things, you're going to have to go all the way to level 5, but it was nice of the developers to make the ore compressor level 1 because that's the thing that most people are going to want to compress. Compressors come in 3 sizes: medium, large and capital. Medium is for the Porpoise mining command ship, and large is for Orca, and capital is for Rorqual. Now Porpoise only have 2 to choose from. They have ore and gas. As we see, there are only 2 medium ones, so Porpoise can only compress gas and ore. Rorquals and Orcas can do ore, ice, gas, mercazit and moon ores. All of them. And the way this compression thing works is that it only works if you have an active industrial core fitted to your ship and running as well. Both of them take up a high slot, so that is 2 of your precious high power slots used. Now if we take a look here at this Porpoise fitting and simulate it, you'll see that Porpoise only have 4 high slots, so one of them has to be an industrial core and the other one is a compressor. Then you've only got 2 left. And yes, they do have the ability to use 2 command burst modules, but when you've only got 2 high slots left, I've chosen to go 1, which is the mining foreman burst, and the tractor beam, just because you're going to have to think hard about your fittings now, because 2 of your high slots are taken up with compressing stuff. Orca is not quite so bad. We'll just simulate this fitting here. Both of these fittings will be in the description below. Obviously it's all due to personal taste. As we see, we have industrial core here, ore compressor here, 2 mining command bursts, 1 shield command burst, and a tractor beam. Obviously you can do things like remote repairers or add a survey scanner into a mid-power slot, but this is how I've chosen to fit my ships. So how does compression work? Well, what we'll do, we'll turn on the industrial core and we'll turn on the compressor. And the way it works, any ship in the fleet within range can do this. If we mouse over this, we see ships in your fleet have to be within 83 kilometers to use this compression module. Well, that's pretty damn nice. So anyone in the entire fleet that is within 83 kilometers of this ship can instantly compress their ore. And to do this, they just right click and select compress. Input materials is this, output materials is that. Now as we see, it's 1 to 1. In the old way, you would do it in batches of 100, so 100 Veldspar would give you 1 compressed Veldspar, and now it's 1 to 1. So we have 50,048 units of Veldspar, and we're going to get 50,048 units output. And there we are. Now we have 50,048 compressed Veldspar. And here it is, right here. Now when you show info on this, what it says is each one unit of compressed Feldspar has a volume of 0.00 cubic meters. Wow, it takes up no space at all. This is simply because the developers are too lazy or inattentive to actually add more decimal points. As we see here, this most definitely does have a volume. As we see, it says 0.0 cubic meters per unit, but because there's 50,000 units, it's 50 cubic meters in total. Now this is different to the old compressed ore. The old compressed ore is now referred to as batch compressed Feldspar, and this is when you needed 100 units of Feldspar to make one of these, which was 0.15 each. And the old stuff is reprocessed in batches of 1, so you would need 1 of this to reprocess and you would get 400 units of titanium out of it. If you now have a look at the new way, this now reprocesses in batches of 100, just like regular ore. So 100 units of this new compressed Feldspar will also give us 400 units of titanium. So instead of it being 100 to 1 compression, it's now 1 to 1, and you refine your ore in exactly the same way as uncompressed ore. Because we don't need to do it in batches of 100 anymore, we can just right click and compress this 58 units and we'll get 58 units of compressed. Just like that, done. And everyone in the fleet can do this now. They don't even have to right click on the orca, they just right click on the ore, in their hold, select compress, instant compression. So the entire fleet can stay in the asteroid belt and mine out the whole thing and pack it up nice and tiny. It's very, very cool. There is another skill which increases the range at which people can interact with the compressor. It's fleet compression logistics. As it says, each skill level increases it by 10% range. This is even more expensive, seeded on the market by NPCs at 300 million ISK. So again, a very expensive skill, but being a skill book, you only ever have to buy it once in your entire life. So that's nice. Now the compression ratios for all this have changed. Means that compressed Feldspar and batch compressed Feldspar will be taking up different volumes. So 100 of this will be taking up a different volume to 1 of the old stuff. This is true for all the different types of ore. I couldn't be bothered to go through and have a look at it. Some of the new compressed ore is smaller in volume than the old batch compressed ore. Some of it is actually larger, and that is causing some consternation for some people, but that's just how it is. One other massive change was that the residue of ore is now calculated after your yield. Now this was causing people a great deal of pain in high security space where the rocks are small. As we talked about in the previous video, if the final cycle of your mining lasers was enough to destroy the asteroid and fully deplete it, and you triggered a residue effect, then the residue would be calculated first and taken from the rock. And that means that sometimes you would actually get nothing in your cargo at all, because all of it was lost as residue into space. And because the rocks in high security space are pretty small, this was happening rather a lot, and people were getting quite angry. So the developers have changed it, so now your mining yield is calculated first. So now if the last cycle of the rock only has enough to give you your yield, then that's all you'll get. If it triggers residue and there's not enough for it to be lost to space, then obviously nothing will be lost. This is a huge change and people are very happy with it. One other change that was made in this update was to battleships. Battleships now have this brand new roll bonus which says 100% bonus to shield extender hit points and 50% bonus to armor plate hit points, and an additional 5% bonus to reinforced bulkhead hit points. So battleships are extremely tanky now. I've seen some crazy fits where rattlesnakes have got over 700,000 EHP. With implants that would be over 1 million EHP, but that's pretty cool. Now, why are shield extenders getting 100% bonus and armor plates only getting 50? Some people got angry about this, but it's quite easy to see. If we have a look at a large shield extender and compare it to 1600mm plate, as we see, the large shield extenders only give you 2600 extra hit points, and the 1600mm plates, which is the battleship size armor plates, gives you 4800. So that's why armor plates are only getting an extra 50% on top of that, and large shield extenders and all shield extenders are getting double on battleships. As well as the raw hit points, resistance modules have been restored a little bit. In the previous update, some of this damage resistance bonus was cut, and half of what was cut has now been restored, so that's going to push up your effective hit points even more on all ships, not just on battleships. As we see, this Orca has 528,000 effective hit points. Before this update it was just over 500,000, so we've got an extra 28,000 hit points just from having the resistances of all these hardeners bumped up a little bit, so that is also most welcome. Quite a short video, but that's all I've got for you today. Huge big changes, lots of happy miners, some fairly happy battleship pilots. Until we meet again, take very good care of yourself. I'll talk to you again soon.